I was still holding the pie when my father told me not to come home again. It was warm pecan, her favorite. I baked it the night before using Grandma's old recipe, the one with crushed vanilla wafers in the crust and a splash of bourbon she swore by. I'd driven 6 hours through fog from Springfield, Illinois to bring it to her like I did every year. My hands trembled as I gripped the pie tin, hoping this year they'd finally see me as family. It was Christmas. I was home. Or so I thought. We hadn't even said grace yet. The turkey hadn't been sliced, the cornbread was still steaming in the ceramic dish shaped like a leaf. I was still standing in the doorway, still smiling, still holding that pie when Dad said, "Give back the $60,000. 0 cents. 0 cents, Emma. Or, don't bother coming home again. You've shamed us enough, Emma," he added, his voice cold as ice, cutting through the festive air. At first I thought he was kidding or testing out some awkward joke. Dad wasn't the dramatic type, and Christmas wasn't our family's battleground. Not until that night. But no one laughed. My cousin Liam stared into his water glass. Aunt Clara's jaw was tight. Even Mom, gentle, soft-spoken Mom, wouldn't meet my eyes. "How could you do this to Grandma?" Mom whispered, her words a betrayal that stung worse than Dad. I glanced down at it, confused, like maybe it could explain what was happening. "Excuse me," I managed. Dad's mouth was a flat line. "Let's not drag this out. You know what this is about?" "What exactly are you accusing me of?" That's when Aunt Clara finally looked up. Her mascara had run slightly, but her voice didn't shake. "It's about Mom's account. $60,000, 0 cents vanished last month. Right after you helped her set up online banking," Liam added. "You were always too smart for your own good, Emma," he said, his tone laced with accusation. My throat went dry. It was true. It helped Grandma. She was nervous about giving up her paper statements, so I walked her through the app one afternoon, wrote everything down in a floral notebook she kept next to the toaster. That was 6 weeks ago, and now they were saying that was the moment I robbed her. "Do you think I stole from her?" I whispered. "You're the only one who could've," Liam snapped, his eyes narrowing with distrust. Liam wouldn't look at me. The bank confirmed it. The withdrawals were made online. No one else had access. No one else except me. I looked at Grandma. She didn't flinch, didn't nod, didn't shake her head, just pressed her napkin to her lips like she might be sick. "You broke my heart, Emma," she murmured, her voice barely audible but heavy with disappointment. That's when it sank in. The pecan pie, the fog-covered drive, the years of tradition, none of it mattered anymore. I wasn't family tonight. I was a suspect. I set the pie down gently on the edge of the granite countertop. The metal tin tapped faintly, like punctuation at the end of a sentence. I reached for my coat from the back of the dining chair where I'd draped it earlier. I didn't speak. "You have until Tuesday," Dad said behind me, voice low. "Then we go to the lawyer. Don't expect forgiveness, Emma," he added, his words a final severance from the family I loved. I didn't cry in the car. Didn't scream. Didn't pound the steering wheel like they do in movies. I just drove, my coat still half-bittened, my pie still sitting on their counter, untouched. The streets of Bloomington were quiet. Porch lights glowed soft yellow, paper snowflakes decorated window panes. It was Christmas night, and the whole town smelled like nutmeg stuffing and peace. Except me. I pulled into the Lincoln Lodge on Route 66, a little roadside place I'd passed 100 times but never thought I'd need. The clerk didn't ask questions, just handed me a key card and wished me a peaceful night. Small mercy. The room smelled faintly of old carpet and microwave butter. I sat on the edge of the bed, boots off, hands still trembling. "Emma Thompson. I'm 36 years old. I've led cybersecurity audits for some of the largest firms in the Midwest. I've traced embezzlement rings, caught CFOs lying under oath, signed off on audits worth more than my parents' home twice over, and they thought I stole from Grandma." My chest ached with the weight of their accusations, as if I'd lost them all over a lie. The worst part? I wasn't even shocked. There had been signs. The way Ava rolled her eyes whenever Grandma mentioned my new role at the firm, Dad's backhanded remarks. "Don't you ever want to live a little? You think you're better than us, don't you?" Ava had sneered last month, her jealousy palpable. As if my success was some sort of affliction. Even last Easter when I offered to pay for the roof repairs, Logan muttered something about buying loyalty. "You can't buy love, Emma," he'd said, his voice dripping with disdain. I lay back on the scratchy comforter, eyes locked on the ceiling. I tried to retrace every moment I helped Grandma with her banking. The notebook, the drawer. It wasn't even locked. Ava still lived there. Logan had a key. Anyone could have opened it. Anyone. I had walked Grandma through the setup. Yes, but that didn't make me the only one who knew how to use it. Still, they believed it. For her to get sick just to steal from her. $60,000, 0 cents. As if I needed it. As if I ever would. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Ava. "We didn't want it to come to this, but you made it hard to trust you. You're a thief, Emma, and we all see through you now." Her next message read, venom in every word. "No happy Christmas, no hope you're okay, just blame." As if I'd shattered something fragile. As if I owed them the apology. I turned the screen face down. At work, I untangle shell companies, track phony invoices, uncover fraud disguised as oversight. I know the fingerprints of theft, and I know how easily someone can make it look like someone else's fault, and someone had made me the fall girl. I stared up at the ceiling until the motel lights blurred overhead. If they were going to treat me like a criminal, maybe it was time I investigated like one. I woke before dawn. No alarm, just instinct. One thing I've learned chasing financial crime: money doesn't vanish, it moves. The trick is knowing where and who gains from the disappearance. I poured myself a bitter cup of lobby coffee and opened my laptop on the tiny desk. Our firm had been quietly investigating a string of elder fraud cases. Retirees with modest accounts drained in 3 quick hits, each just below the federal reporting threshold. The same bank kept coming up. First Community Bank, Grandma's bank. I hadn't told my family I was on the internal audit team. It was confidential, but I had access. I messaged Theo, our compliance officer. Just a name, a date range, a branch. Less than an hour later, he sent me a folder. 12 withdrawal slips, teller logs. 3 withdrawals from Grandma's account spaced 6 days apart. $25,000, 0 cents. $20,000, 0 cents. $15,000, 0 cents. All done in person, not online. That was the first crack. They'd accused me of using the app, said I was the only one with access, but if the money walked out with a teller, it wasn't me. I clicked the attached security footage, low resolution, grainy, but the face walking up to the counter, clear enough. The first video loaded. First Community Bank. November 5th, 1:45 p.m. A woman approached the counter, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Blonde ponytail, green hoodie, oversized sunglasses. At first, I assumed it was a hired decoy. Someone paid to impersonate Grandma, but then she stepped closer, lowered her mask to speak to the teller, and I froze. Even in grainy footage, I knew that face. I'd watched that face blow out birthday candles, sob into pillows after high school breakups, steal the last scone on snow days. My heart sank as I recognized her. The sister I trusted betraying me in plain sight. I knew her down to the way she fidgeted, tapping her fingers in threes when anxious. She handed over what looked like Grandma's ID and signed something. Her signature hadn't changed since junior year. I leaned back in my chair, motel light buzzing faintly overhead. They hadn't just stolen the money. They'd orchestrated this. They waited until I set up the online accounts, used that digital footprint as camouflage. Then they framed me, opened the second clip. November 11th, same bank branch. Logan, no disguise, no nerves. Calm, polished, joking with the teller like he'd done it a dozen times before. "He's laughing while stealing from Grandma," I muttered, my voice thick with disbelief. He signed something, smiled, nodded. Third video. Ava again. Same hoodie, different sunglasses, more confident this time. My stomach turned. But something still didn't add up. How did they get the ID and bank details? Then I remembered. 2 weeks before I helped Grandma digitize her finances, she had a routine hospital visit. Just scans. Ava had volunteered to stay overnight with her, and Grandma's purse was with her the whole time. Her checkbook, her driver's license, her printed bank statements. That's where it started. But it didn't stop there. I reviewed the metadata from the banking app setup. The first login after I'd returned to Springfield didn't come from Grandma's phone. It came from a tablet on the home Wi-Fi, same IP address Ava used for her Netflix marathons and the one-time passcode sent to a backup email. I didn't register. I traced it, the recovery number of it. They weren't just desperate. They were bold, arrogant. They assumed no one would question it, especially not when the golden child made such an easy target. I closed the laptop. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't family friction. It was fraud. They'd used my love for Grandma as a smokescreen. I zipped up my laptop bag and reached for my phone. Not to call the police. Not yet. Instead, I called the office. Asked Theo for one more thing. Printed teller signature logs. I'd need those for the side-by-side comparisons. Then I slid open my suitcase and pulled out a slim black presentation folder, the kind I'd used in court during high-stakes fraud cases. If they wanted to cast me as the villain, fine. I'd show them what it looks like when the villain keeps receipts. I didn't call ahead. I drove back to Bloomington on Wednesday afternoon, right as the sun dipped into that late winter glow, the golden hour that once made this street feel like magic. It didn't feel like home now. The driveway was full. Logan's SUV, Ava's compact, Grandma's old Buick. No guests, just family. I parked at the curb, let the engine tick down as my hands rested on the leather folder in my lap, full of timestamps, teller logs, security stills, every lie they thought would fade unnoticed. My heart pounded as I clutched the folder, knowing this confrontation would change everything. Then, I stepped out. I walked up the porch steps and let myself in. No knocking, not this time. The scent of rosemary and broth drifted from the kitchen. I heard forks tapping ceramic, low conversation. A laugh that used to belong to us all, but didn't anymore. I found them gathered around the kitchen island. Ava perched on the counter like a kid again, mug in hand. Logan stood near the fridge, arms folded. Grandma stood quietly at the sink, drying a dish like muscle memory. Dad stirred a pot back to me. Then they all looked up, and everything stopped. No one spoke. I walked to the island and placed the black folder on the wood where we used to roll out Christmas cookies. I opened it without ceremony. "You believed I stole from Grandma," I said quietly. "Let me show you what really happened. You're about to face the truth, and it's not me you should fear," I said, my voice steady, but the air shifted subtle like before a storm. First photo, Ava sunglasses teller, counter, signature visible. November 5th, $25,000, 0 cents, not online. Not me. No one moved. Not even Ava. Second photo. Logan, navy sweater, handing over a check. November 11th, $20,000, 0 cents. And I was just getting started. Stick around because what came next silenced every accusation. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the moment they realized who they were really up against. $15,000, 0 cents, I said, laying the final slip on the counter. My voice trembled. Not from rage, but restraint. These weren't strangers. These were the people I'd made blanket forts with, shared birthday cakes with. Trusted. Ava gripped her mug tighter, her knuckles turned white. She opened her mouth like she had a defense lined up, then closed it again. "You can't prove anything, Emma." Eva spat, her voice desperate but defiant. I placed the teller slips side by side. Same branch, same signatures. "I matched these with your handwriting, Ava," I said softly. "From the sticky note you left on the fridge last week. The one that said, 'Don't touch my leftovers.'" "You thought I wouldn't notice, Ava, but I see everything," I said, my eyes locking onto hers. A beat passed. Then finally, Ava's voice thinner than I remembered. "You went through our stuff." I tilted my head calmly. "You went through Grandma's. You betrayed her trust, Ava, and mine," I said, my voice cutting through her weak defense. Grandma reached out, her fingers brushing the edges of the slips. Her eyes flicked over the print, hand trembling slightly. When she spoke, her voice was small, almost pleading. "But the bank said it was online." "That's what they assumed," I said. "But the withdrawals, those were done in person. The online activity came later from a tablet connected to your home Wi-Fi." I looked at Logan. "The recovery email linked to your number, the phone tied to your Netflix profile." "You played me, Logan, and thought I'd stay silent," I said, my voice heavy with betrayal. The kitchen went still. Dad stopped stirring. Ava looked down at her feet. Logan stared at the counter like it might offer another version of this moment. And then Grandma spoke, barely above a whisper. "You let me believe my granddaughter stole from me." "How could you do this to me, Ava?" she asked, her voice breaking with hurt. She wasn't looking at anyone, not even me. "You told me not to come home," I said, voice tighter now. "And none of you ever asked if I did it. You chose to believe a lie over me, Dad," I said, my eyes burning with unshed tears. That was the real betrayal, not the accusation, not the silence, but that no one thought to ask. Ava finally looked up. Her expression wasn't guilt. It was resentment. "You always get everything," she said bitterly. "The job, the praise, the respect. I just wanted to level the field." "You're jealous, Ava, and you destroyed us for it," I said, my voice shaking with the weight of her admission. I studied her. She looked older now, or maybe I was just seeing her clearly for the first time. "You didn't level anything. You set fire to it." Logan cleared his throat. "She'll be fine, Grandma. Emma makes more than all of us. It wasn't personal." "Not personal. You framed me illegal," I shouted, my restraint finally breaking. I exhaled slowly, the chill crawling up my spine. It's always personal when it's family. I watched Grandma sink into a chair, the folders still open in front of her. Grandma's hands rested in her lap, palms up like she didn't know what to do with them. Grandma finally spoke. "Emma, what are you going to do? Are you really asking me to fix this after you throw me out?" I asked. My voice laced with disbelief. I met his eyes. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like the child in the room. "I'm not pressing charges," I said, but I sent the file to the family attorney. "You can decide what to do with it." Calm with 350 characters. "You'll face the consequences without me," I said, my tone final. He nodded once, older than I remembered. I zipped the folder closed. My hands moved automatically, years of courtrooms and case files guiding the motion. This time, it felt like closing a door. "You told me not to come back unless I returned the money," I said. I didn't take the money, but I brought the truth. I waited just long enough for the words to land. Then I turned. "All right?" Grandma's voice cracked. "I trusted you all, and you broke me," she whispered, her words a dagger to my heart. I paused at the door. "Christmas over," I said. "You all made sure of that." "You're not my family anymore," I said, my voice steady despite the pain. I didn't take the folder, didn't take the pie, just my keys and whatever part of me still believed they'd ever have chosen me. I didn't drive off right away. I sat in the car watching the kitchen window. No one followed. The light stayed on. Ava didn't laugh. Logan didn't speak. No one came outside, and that silence told me everything. Back in Springfield, the city felt sharper, quieter. I returned to work like nothing had happened, but I stopped calling on Sundays, ignored the family group chat, let a voicemail sit for 4 days before playing it. It was Grandma. "Emma, we were wrong. I didn't want to believe it. I'm sorry. I didn't expect forgiveness. The house feels—" "I failed you, Emma," she added, her voice heavy with regret. She hung up before the minute mark. 3 weeks later, a letter came inside. A photo of me, Ava, and Logan on the back porch in Halloween costumes. No note, just this. "We didn't know how much we'd miss you until you were gone." No signature. Logan never reached out. Ava didn't either, but a cousin told me they both moved out. Grandma stopped talking to them, said she needed space. I didn't ask. I didn't offer to come back. Instead, I made something new. I launched a weekend seminar at the community college, cybersecurity for older adults. Not glamorous, but it was mine. It mattered. One Saturday after class, an older woman took my hand and said, "I wish I had a daughter like you." "You're the daughter I never had," she said, her words healing a wound I didn't know was still open. I smiled gently, didn't say what I was thinking. So did mine when January came and went. No tree, no calls, no ornament exchange. There's a kind of grief no one prepares you for, the kind that comes when the people you love choose someone else's version of you, and once they make that choice, they can't take it back. I still keep the folder, not in my office, just in a drawer beneath old tax returns and my mortgage copy. Haven't opened it since that night. I don't need to because the facts haven't changed, and neither have I. I'm stronger than their lies, I whispered to myself, closing the drawer with finality. Tell me, have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? What did you say? What did you wish you'd said? I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Share your story below. I'm listening because sometimes strangers understand more than family ever.